Farage Nigel Paul, Reform UK, 21,235.
Believe me, folks, this is just the first step of something that is going to stun all of you.
Nigel Farage MP is back on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. And I'm delighted to say the man himself joins me now. Now, Nigel, I will throw it over to you to tell our viewers and our listeners what you've got in store for them. Come on.
Well, first things first, Patrick, and even more important, is that today was born my second grandson in the space of 3 weeks. Can you believe it? So that's all.
Congratulations to everybody involved.
Not quite sure I'm really equipped to be a modern granddad, but hey. So we've got that, which is very exciting, and I'm very pleased. So yes, obviously it's been a very exciting week, going into Parliament for the first time, saying a few words in the chamber, getting the sense of the history of the place, the sort of sheer magnificence of the ceremony. But I am coming back to GB News, and I'll be broadcasting on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m, and it starts next Tuesday. And, you know, I've been with GB News continuously for 3 years. I've said very publicly that it's the best job I've ever had. I've loved doing it, so I can't wait to get started again.
100%. I mean, you're going to be shaking it up in Westminster. You're going to be shaking it up on the airwaves. I mean, people do seem to forget in all of this, Nigel, you are a multi-award-winning television presenter. So the idea that we wouldn't have wanted you back once you've found your way into the corridors of power is a little bit daft. I am worried, though, Nigel, that some people might try and shut you down. It's a Labour government now, and there's a particular chap called Chris Bryant who's in charge of DCMS. Are you ready for the fight?
Yes, the same Chris Bryant that slandered me, you know, using parliamentary privilege in the House of Commons, accused me of earning fortunes from the Russians. So, yeah, no, look, the instincts of people like Bryant are concerning. Ofcom has got mission creep. It seems to want to control more and more and more what is said on British television and radio. And there'll be some battles. But look, you know, there are rules, and we obey the rules. We're grown-ups, we're sensible, and I think within the limits of those rules, I can still present on GB News and still have big, strong, healthy debates with loads of opinions, including my own. I really, unless the legislation was to change, and that would be the most monstrous attack on free speech, I think it's going to be okay.
I mean, it remains to be seen whether or not Chris Bryant decides to pick that fight with you, doesn't it, really? And I suppose, do you have a little warning for him if he does?
Well, you know what? A lot of people who pick fights with me finish up very, very badly hurt indeed. Some, even top CEOs, lose their jobs and have to resign. So, you know, if you want to fight, that's fine, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Some people will say, hey, Nigel, look, you're an MP now. You know, you've got a full-time job there. How can you possibly do this as well?
Because I'm not a 9-to-5er, Patrick. I don't work 40-hour weeks or like the French or 30-hour weeks, and that's with a big lunch in the middle of the day. No, I mean, you know, even today, I was at this desk at 4 a.m. this morning, going through emails, some from constituents, others asking me questions about the party or policies, and here we are. It's nearly 10 o'clock, and I'm still going. So you know, I can cram a lot in to a working day.
Yeah, no, indeed. And, you know, it'll be really interesting, I think, for people to see you, to have that additional insight from you, you know, around Westminster now. You've got the bridgehead there in the House of Commons, and to see how that unfolds. One of the topics I imagine you will be talking about quite a lot is going to be holding our new Prime Minister's feet to the fire when it comes to his plan to tackle the small boats crisis. Well, you know, we saw, didn't we, earlier on, that his preferred choice to lead this new Border Security Command, Nigel, was a chap called Neil Basu. He's rejected the job. It comes on the same day that 4 migrants died after their boats sank as they tried to cross the Channel from France. Is Starmer's migrant master plan already in tatters, do you think, Nigel?
There is no master plan. All he's talking about is cracking down on the criminal gangs. We've been doing that against the drugs gangs for decades, and it's got us precisely nowhere. And, you know, even if you put these traffickers in prison for life, others will come in their place, because on a good week, a gang can make over 2 million euros. The rewards are so massive, the rewards are so high, and people will keep coming because no one gets deported anymore. The last Labour government were deporting tens of thousands of people a year. Now we deport virtually no one. And isn't it funny, on that theme, that we're sort of emptying our prisons? Well, why not just deport the 11,000 foreign criminals back to where they come from? We've lost our guts, we've lost our backbone, and we're terrified of this court in Strasbourg. No, Starmer, I promise you, if we finally get an English summer, because there hasn't been much of one yet, if we finally get a few calm weeks, thousands and thousands will cross that English Channel. They'll all be young men, they'll all be undocumented, they'll all come from countries that are genuinely posing a high risk to terrorism, they'll all come from cultures in which women aren't even treated as second-class citizens. And I've just got a feeling that this government is going to be really in trouble on issues like this pretty quickly.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I also highlighted right at the start of the show as well that the heads of several major unions are now either openly balloting for strike action or issuing massive warnings about potential above inflation pay rises as well. So, strike Starmageddon is possibly just around the corner. Nigel, look, I have got to ask you, you've got your foot in the door in Westminster now and you've reorganised your party, haven't you? And there was a bit of noise yesterday about what that really means for people like Ben Habib. Do you want to clear up what's kind of going on there really and why you made certain decisions that you did?
Well, number one, the party's under new leadership. I'm the leader now, not Richard Tice, who was previously. He made appointments. A new leader makes his own appointments, obviously, logically. But secondly, the fact is we're now a parliamentary party. And so I felt that the deputy leader role, which had been with David Bull and with Ben Habib, and there's no complaints about either of them whatsoever, but logically, that deputy leader now has to be in the House of Commons, and Richard Tice is fully, ably equipped to do that job. And secondly, we have to professionalise the party, and that's why I've chosen, Zia Youssef, this 37-year-old multi-millionaire tech entrepreneur, a guy I've known for 10 years, a guy that's done phenomenally well in life, and right at the minute has loads of money and loads of time on his hands and nothing to do. So I've just given him a very, very tough job as chairman of the party to sort the whole thing out.
All right. So just very finally, Nigel, remind us, when are you back on GB News, lighting up our television screens and radio sets?
Next Tuesday evening, 7 p.m, and that'll be on the eve of the King's Speech in Parliament, which comes on the Wednesday morning, in which we're expecting up to 30 new pieces of legislation, including votes for 16-year-olds. I promise you, Patrick, there's no shortage of material to debate.